obviously your characters, Lori and Doug, were not on the same page about marriage. So when do you think you should discuss your views on marriage in the early stages of dating, or when is it appropriate?
Oh man, I don't know. I think this is like this is for you.
I think well, first of all, they change. Like my husband and I discussed our views on marriage early on, and my I said I don't ever want to get married. Now, clearly, I'm married, so that changed. And what happened was actually, uh, my husband was like, "Well, I think I do. So, like, I want you to look at that." And 6 years of therapy later, I turned around. I was like, "Okay, let's do it. Let's get married." Not that you need to want to get married, but when it's something's important to your partner, you should just look at it. And then I turned around, I was like, I think I want to get married. And he was like, wait, what? So, sometimes somebody who expresses that desire can express it because somebody else doesn't have that, and then obviously we switched and then we got back on the same page. So I think it's a constant discussion, and it changes, and you sort of figure out what works for you. Now that I've been married for 8 or 9 years, I'm like, we don't need to be married. I mean, we could be just as happy together without that. But it was a really fun party. So,
Yeah, that's another question of mine. What type of wedding date partner are you guys? Like the dancer, meet me at the bar? What's the vibe?
I'm definitely a dancer slash meet me at the bar. Uh, I'm socially I'm a little anxious, and so like I definitely need a little liquid courage to just be around that many people. But also, it's like yeah, I love a good dance. I'm not particularly a good dancer, but I'm really funny when I'm dancing. Usually on accident, but but sometimes on purpose. And so it's like I feel like at a wedding, it's like it's a really great thing to be able to just sort of be like, be a kind of party starter in that way of just like I'm not good at this. Everybody join. Like it's that's sort of the guy that I am. I think.
so Will has dance dysmorphia. He is an incredible dancer.
No,
Incredible.
no, no. I've definitely had people. I've definitely danced in wedding like settings that are not weddings, and had people be like, "Oh no, 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 don't do that." I'm like, "Okay, cool, cool, cool. You're right. You're right. You're right."
Well, we have that in common. I've been told that it's not my strong suit, but I'm a joyous dancer as well. I'm on the dance floor. It depends on the wedding though. Like if I don't I'm definitely, because I don't drink a lot, if I don't know people at the wedding, I'm pretty in the corner.
Yeah.
But if I know people, I'm dancing all night.
Okay. Sounds cool. I feel like I'm kind of a mix of both you guys.
Mhm.
But William, I am such a big fan of The Good Place. And so I was used to seeing you play the very nervous, can't make up his mind Chidi. And Doug is the exact opposite. So, I mean, he clearly knows what he wants. So, which character do you feel has more relatable traits to you?
Ain't nothing, motherfuckers, me. No, like no, there is something about Chidi where it's his indecisiveness is externalized. I'm pretty deeply indecisive, but that's all stuff that's just going on in here, and I'm not talking about it. And Doug is actually in that regard further from me. I think I probably go through all the different scenarios a bunch of times in my head. You know, I just don't verbalize it much. So, so yeah, but yeah, they do manifest as very different dudes. Um, but I think that maybe like sort of like I feel like Doug's a little bit more backfooted and a little more comfortable in who he is, and I think I probably present a little bit more that way. But my internal monologue is definitely much closer uh, to Chidi in a lot of ways.
All right. And then I don't know if you can say it yet, But will Stormfront be making a very crazy epic return to season 3 of The Boys? I knew it.
But if she does, I don't think there's much of her left. So
All right, I knew it. Very close lips, no problem. And just last question, William, this isn't a very exciting time for you because, of course, We Broke Up is coming out, but you're also going to be starring in a limited series called The Underground Railroad. So, can you give me a little bit of information about that show and your role?
Yeah, it's based on the Colson Whitehead novel, and it's a really harrowing story. I play a guy named Royal, who our main character Cora meets on her journey, and that's really about all that I can give right now. But it's a really important story. I hope it starts a lot of conversations and stirs up a lot of introspection in people about who they would be in these various situations. And I'm really excited for people to interact with the piece and just see what it brings up for them.
Thank you. I'm excited for it. I'm happy for both you guys, and congratulations on the movie.
thank you so
So
much.
much.
Thank you guys. All right. So I absolutely loved the movie. It was so good, very relatable for me. But I just want to know where the inspiration behind We Broke Up, where it came from.
Well, I had this sort of image of a couple sitting in a car after breaking up with the words "We broke up" on the screen, and started writing it and was like, this doesn't feel, I want this to feel like a two-handed even movie between the couple. I didn't just want to make a male centric, I'm sad because I just had a breakup and now hijinks ensues. So I wrote my dear friend Laura Jacqmin, who I was always in awe of in high school as a playwright. We used to direct each other's plays. And so I wrote her and was like, hey, do you want to write a movie together? And she's like, yes. I'm like, I haven't pitched you on the movie yet. She's like, I don't care what it is. We'll do it. And so yeah, we met up for dinner, started talking about it. And then I was in LA at the time. Laura was in Chicago. And we just started writing a script together. And
Yeah, we met up at some umami burger in Hollywood when I was up for my very first round of TV staffing meetings. And yeah, it was a strange collaboration from two different cities, and when we were both not working, and somehow we came up with a thing.
It's You guys did what you had to do. So good. But I thought it was interesting that viewers don't really get to hear the conversation between Lori and Doug after she turns down his proposal until kind of the end. So why leave us in the dark so long?
Laura, how do you want to answer that one?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I think this actually speaks to it speaks to sort of the way that a movie comes together, both at the script stage and then in the post stage when you're editing it. And we actually played around a lot with the order of events of this breakup in the very, very first draft of the script. And I think even in the shooting draft, actually, our thought was that Jeff's initial image for the movie, that two shot of them in the car, that was going to be what we were going to open on. And then we started to sort of move stuff around and play with, what does the audience know about this couple? What do we know about their history? And then where do we sort of flash back and see that horrific parking lot argument? And you know, we made that decision that we wanted to juxtapose sort of a very nice moment, a very sweet moment, with this very gross and messy fight that they had immediately after the breakup.
Yeah, and I think there's also just an expectation in general when you have a title like We Broke Up and you start with this dynamic shot of them sitting in the car post breakup, the audience is inherently going to want to know what happened. So we thought it was interesting to play off that expectation and just the audience obviously knows they broke up, doesn't know the circumstances of it, didn't know what happened. And so that was how it was written. That was the initial edit of the movie. So for the first few months of editing, that was still the first shot of the movie, and something I fought for a little while. And thankfully, you know, we weren't able to do like test screenings like you normally would, but I showed it to some trusted friends and someone said, hey, why don't you put that scene at the beginning? And when we did, my editor Stephanie and I watched, and we're like, yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
This works better. So we changed how we structured it, which is obviously one of the, we're both Laura and I come from playwriting backgrounds, and so you have this whole concept of the script and how important it is, but never underestimate how much you can learn in editing as well. And so we
I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh, what happened though? What did they talk about? I need to know. This will change things. But the movie also does a really great job at mixing in comedy with creating like actual real relatable relationship issues. Were you guys trying to purposely steer away from a traditional rom-com movie plot?
I would say yes. I mean, the thing with both Laura and I, neither of us are really like genre writers, if you will. Like, we're both very much into just character and relationships. And so we got to a point, I remember talking after we'd already written multiple drafts of the script. We're like, so is this a comedy? Like, I was like, on a 0 to 100 scale, like, how much is this a drama? How much of this is a comedy? And I think as we started having those conversations, we realized, this will eventually come out and be marketed as a romantic comedy. And so I think once we became more conscious of that, it informed things a little bit, but it never came from the point of like, we're making a romantic comedy. That's what we're doing. It was always just telling Doug and Lori's story in like an honest way, and
Yeah,
then
I think a
allowing
really
it to fall.
character-based, like really character-based way, and grounding both of these people as human beings. And I think sometimes people come at a script from a place of, well, we have to hit these beats, right? If Notting Hill did this, or if this other movie did this, we have to sort of structure it that way. And I think it gave us a little bit more freedom that we could get into some of the darkness, and we could also, punch the audience in the stomach when they were laughing the hardest, and sort of play with those two tones.
To be clear, we did make a graph of Notting Hill, and it is a scene for scene replication of Notting Hill. Just so you're clear. That was the point.
And just my last question, I also really enjoyed the fact that it was the woman who wasn't so sure about marriage. Was this a conscious decision?
Yes. We
It
can
really
we can talk about the educational process this has been for me in terms of gender expectations and things like that with story. It's been an amazing process for me, because I feel like Lori, generally speaking, if you just make a graph of what they both do in the movie, I was a little dumbfounded that people were still blaming Lori more than Doug at times. I mean, Will is so incredibly charming that he can get away with just about anything, but it was it was it, that was definitely something that we discussed quite a bit, is what the expectation is with this relationship. And so yeah.
And just from a personal standpoint, when Jeff and I met at that umami burger, we had both been in relationships for 10 years. And Jeff and his wife, Jeff met his wife during college, they got married. I've been with my boyfriend for 15 years at this point. We still haven't gotten married. And so it sort of replicated our experiences in those ways that Jeff, I think, has always been very marriage minded and family minded. And I've been kind of like, this is good. So in a way, I think there's a lot of us in the movie as well, just in terms of what Doug wants, what Lori wants, and what their priorities are.